Namaskar. I'm Kumar Akis and you're watching Global Governance News TV. Today we're going to discuss the Russia-Ukraine issue and how NATO versus Russia. How Russia adamant against Ukraine and already fights, we can say fight has started now, and how just Russia attack Ukraine, and the situation is so grim, not seems to be under control. But whatever claim by the government of India, Bharat Sarkar, it's a different matter. Recently, just 10 minutes back, Foreign Secretary of Government of Bharat announced about the three advisory already issued, Harshvardhan Shringla, and he said they are already directed to just rescue Bharatiya students in Ukraine. More than, according to data, 20,000 Bharatiya students are studying in Ukraine, and some interviews has been coming in different channels. The Bharat Sarkar has not properly managed accordingly. But I think situation is not so grim as they claim. But now Russia has had how just aggressive is matter of concern. As just you see the U.S. officials said there is no indication of any amphibious assaults aided by Russian troops. They added the Russian targets thus far focused primarily on military and defense objectives, including 10 airfields. Russian used cruise and surface-to-air and sea-launched missiles. U.S. official added. This is latest by 9:10 p.m. Updates I'm just giving you. Senior U.S. defense officials said that more than 100 Russian launched missiles were used in the onslaught. Russian action in Ukraine is an initial phase of large-scale invasion, according to senior U.S. defense official. Many Indian students turned up outside embassy in the Kiev, according to PTI reports, and the Ukraine Indian ambassador to Ukraine, Partha Satpathy, later interacted with the Bharatiya students and assured all possible assistance. And just you see the Russia Kiev mayor ordered curfew in capital. Ukraine person says Russian troops trying to capture Chernobyl plant. So this is the latest on the Russian-Ukraine crisis, we can say. But now NATO has already declared to all support to Ukraine, and the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson also said not a work of humanity. Putin is again against the humanity. You have seen the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Guterres, already issued a statement for maintain peace to Russia, but I think there is no, they're all in vain. There is no use. So we are going to discuss the how NATO versus Russia and how Russia adamant on the Ukraine issue till 2008, the Georgia and uh, Ukraine not able to be the member of NATO. Before that, more than 10 European countries already included in the NATO member list. So we are going to discuss on this issue how it will be, what will be happen, how the situation is going on, what will the role of Bharat, and so we have Dr. Amit Singh. He is an expert on the foreign affairs, and just he is a already assistant professor, senior assistant professor in Atmaram ARDS College, University of Delhi, and PhD from School of International Studies, JNU, and the honorary director of India Institutes and the organization of Diaspora Initiatives, and National Advisory Council member, Center for Human Security Studies, and editorial advisor of the Nationalist, agent of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Foundation, and book review editor of the Diaspora Studies, Taylor and Francis, London. Work with the National Maritime Foundation, and also taught the political science on the Motilal Nehru College, and the long academic career, and written so many articles in national and international platform and magazine. And we have Alok Laharji, also from the ZNU, expert in the foreign affairs, living in Spain after a little more than 20 years, and already research and PhD on the many subjects related to the foreign affairs and languages. So welcome the two specialists on this issue, and also Alokji have many connections in Ukraine and keeping an eye minute to minute development. We're sitting in Spain, Barcelona. So start from today, Dr. Amit Singh ji, how just you see the complete situation of the Russia-Ukraine crisis?
Uh, the present crisis and the ongoing crisis in Russia-Ukraine conflict, yes, the entire world is thinking about this particular issue. And yes, there are issues related to vulnerability. But according to me, yes, for the past several years, Russia is cautioning Ukraine as well as the big powers, and they have urged them do not align with NATO or American led alliance, and they have asked please do not join NATO alliance. So till date, yes, discussions are going on. Ukraine is going to join NATO or not, but yes, America is trying to hobnob with Ukraine. But on the other hand, a few days back, we have seen press conference in which he has also mentioned few points related to Russia is aiming to develop nuclear weapon at the behest of America, and there is a possibility they may going to use these things against Russia. So for the past several years, Ukraine is teasing Russia at the behest of America, and that is why just few days back we have seen some attacks, and America has mentioned there is a possibility Russia may say Russia may allege some sort of a false attack on Russia. But yes, both these parties are claiming, Russia is saying, there is a genuine attacks from the Ukrainian forces, and now they have announced two provinces as an independent state. And on the other hand, today they have attacked Russia. So according to me, Russia is going to fulfill its strategic objective in Ukraine, because for the past several years they are cautioning Ukraine, but there are issues related to this particular issue. And according to me, Russia, with this present attack, they have again re-established itself as a second best superpower, because during the COVID year, we have seen China is trying to project itself as a second best global power due to the various scholars has uh, asserted themselves, and they have deliberately highlighted Cold War 2.0 or something like that. So, according to me, with this particular attack, Russia has achieved its foreign policy objective, global objective, and now they are almost challenge the American hegemony, and the way America and the other forces are reacting, because they are going to just condemn, they are condemning the entire incident. They are putting huge restrictions against Russia, but on the other hand, they are not going to physically involve in this entire issue. So Russia has reasserted himself as a second best superpower. On the other hand, they have also discarded the narrative with regard to Chinese hegemony after the America. So this is my initial comments with regard to the ongoing crisis between Ukraine and Russia. Yeah.
Thank you, Amit ji. Alok ji, just Dr. Amit mentioned China and how China is just doing. China, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, Belarus are the country openly supporting Russia now. Except Bharat is neutral now, not making any support. I think by today night, the Prime Minister of Bharat, Narendra Modi, may talk to Mr. Putin, Russian Premier, and but just see the political scene just and diplomatically and just internationally, China, Pakistan, Russia. This alignment one. and Russia and NATO, how the Boris Johnson reacted, how the Biden is reacted, how the NATO spokesman reacted, just for against the Russia. And Russia is adamant just against the expansion of NATO. First resistance and first condition to the all NATO members, including US and all. There are many discussion in UNSC. So how just you see the NATO versus Russia, and what will be role of NATO already simultaneously NATO threatened to Russia, they should stop the war until they will take action.
Good evening, Kumar, Rakesh ji, and Dr. Amit Singh ji. As Dr. Singh pointed out, this is nothing new. I mean, Russia has been cautioning them. And in fact, there was a Secretary of State who had mentioned that they will not be going towards, east. But now America is saying that no, he never mentioned something like this. But the harm is already done. And how is the harm done? Ukraine was part of USSR. And, the relationship which was existing between Ukraine and Russia, even after, Glasnost, was very, very nice. I mean, people in Ukraine always thought that Russians were like brothers. So we had a relationship which was something similar to what we have in India and Nepal, that kind of a thing. And in spite of the fact that when the referendum was done and it was decided that Ukraine would be, made into a separate country from USSR, but 52% of the people voted in favor of a different country. But again, 48% is a very huge number. So it is almost 50% of the people, they are of Russian ethnicity and they speak Russian. It is not like other countries where they are not willing to speak in Russian. That's point number one. Now the harm, how it is done, it is the Americans and the Europeans, in spite of the fact that everything else has happened, they have made two brothers fight. And the worst part is like nobody was expecting. I mean, even the Ukrainians, especially the North Ukrainians, always thought that, Russians are like our brothers and they're not going to attack us. But today, I was talking to somebody in Kharkiv and they said from my house, I could see, smoke coming out. So the war is there and people are scared there and they did not expect anything like this to happen. So the
Already war is
area around,
started now by Russia.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But yesterday or day before, they were not expecting this to happen. They were thinking, okay, finally at the end of the day, we'll sit down and there'll be no aggression from the Russian side. But what happens is that if you drive somebody, so close to the wall, and Russia was driven to the wall, and there was a sword in front. How? On one side, you have had, Ukraine signed the NATO, then all the NATO countries would have joined together to fight against Russia. Now, that would, from Russian point of view, that is very, very, delicate, because in case Ukraine goes with NATO, then Moscow is around 550 kilometers, which is hardly any distance. I mean, in today's warfare, that is hardly any distance. So the unfortunate part is that in spite of the fact, like there was a president, Viktor Yanukovych, he was pro-Russia. But then when he decided not to sign an EU-Ukraine pact, what happened was like there was a civil movement against him and he had to run back to Russia. So European Union and Americans, they had been playing, their games. And it is so unfortunate that two brotherly countries, they have, come to these. So in case nothing else happens, I think at the end of the day, what will happen is that Ukraine would be parted into two unless, of course, Russia conquers this completely, which is also a possibility. Because, Ukrainians, it's a big country. It's probably one of the biggest in case it's not part of the EU in the sense that they don't have the euro. They were trying to get into the European Union. And the unfortunate thing is like, India has a lot of stake in Russia. It has a lot of stake in America. So in fact, I would, even change the title of your program because you're saying NATO versus Russia. NATO is not doing anything. It is America versus Russia. It's like two elephants are fighting and the poor Ukrainians, they're getting crushed. And they were thinking that Americans would be helping them and all. and America had clearly said that they'll not be participating in any kind of
Yeah,
aggression which is there. So they'll just give you sympathy towards, maybe they'll give you armaments also, which I think it is too late, because since the war has already started. Now what can Russia do right now, and what can India do? India's problem is that in case we go against Russia, which we cannot, because around 70% of our arms they come from Russia, so we need spare parts and all that. And same with the Americans. And there are lots of students. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who's there, and he says this is very different because India had sent Air India a plane which had to come back because Ukraine closed its airspace to any kind of so they had to come back, and the students were saying this is not a dry evacuation, it is an evacuation within a war zone. Now it is completely a war zone. So things are very different from what day before we talked about.
yeah,
And people are confused, even in Ukrainians are confused, because they did not expect Russia to actually launch an attack.
yeah,
And
yeah,
what, as you said, you're right, they are mainly targeting the military and the infrastructure. And the last news was they somehow, like, there is some fight going on in Chernobyl. I don't know what the issue with the Chernobyl is. Nobody is very clear why Russia wants to take control of it. Maybe there is a threat of some kind of threat where
no,
it can be
but
used, or there's some secret
Alokji,
which we don't know about.
Alok, already by
Yeah,
yesterday news, the Donetsk and the Luhansk already captured by the Russian and already declared the country. So
that was
Vandana,
yesterday.
yeah, that was yesterday. So Vandanaji, how do you think the role of the America now? And I think the after 2 hours, more than 1.5 hours, the president, U.S. president, going to address the nation, and just about the current situation as going on in Ukraine, and how the role of the NATO are all a part of the major main power center of NATO. So and already Boris Johnson declared that just will support with all efforts to Ukraine also. Vandana.
Namaskar to all the co-panelists and to Kumar Rakesh. We were discussing, this has become the discussion of the whole globe right now because everyone eyes is over there, what's going on. Because uh, you asked me where I'm sitting right now. I'm in Chicago, Windy City, United States of America. Our president is coming, giving statements, and they are talking about, these are our prediction, this can happen, this can happen. But that has not happened. But beyond that, there is nothing. Let's hear from him what he says now. And situation is changing. It's like every minute, because which is as Alok ji was mentioning, it is the fight of who is big, to be honest, like a US versus Russia. I think Ukraine is become scapegoat in that, and they should have, as they expected, that this will not happen because we do have common relationships and stuff we would share, because earlier this was one part of the Russia itself, but that has not happened. So airfield has already been acquired by them, because earlier it was from the naval perspective. Then it started because the Air India flight, because there's only fighter planes are being operated by the at the airports, not the commercial. That has been totally commenced. I was just watching some videos. There have been some ground reporting has been done on various different channels, that they want to go, students or the people those who are working from the other South Asian countries, from our neighboring country, means so how they are not able to get the tickets. People in the grocery stores, there is very unrest. We could hear cries of little babies, because once these are because airstrikes, how it is going to be impacted. I think the Indian Prime Minister is going to be speaking to Russian President Putin. As I was listening to somebody, and then they were talking about there is some speculations happening, Taiwan and China into this, that China may try to, because the situation is going to be very different, because in Taiwan there is ground forces of US and other nations also, but which is not in Ukraine. And I mean, Ukraine should not have, because the NATO is the main situation. Because earlier, how many nations were when the NATO was formed? How many nations? What was Russia's issue? Main issue was why NATO for Ukraine, like, because I I think we discussed that day before yesterday also. That became, and that has flooded the issue, to be honest. And it's a wait and watch situation, because I feel for the the head of Ukraine, still it will be maybe minute or hours or 24 hours at the max that he may be leaving, and wait and watch.
Okay, just time a break, and after break, I'll just take Rakesh Tiwari from Canada. How just you see the part of welcome to break. Just we are just talking about the Ukraine issue and NATO versus Russia. Russia is totally, he was not member of G7, earlier G8 he was member, now out. One. Number two, just you see the how Russian President Putin adamant with his all action. Number three, this is a very pertinent question that Dr. Amit and Alok ji and said, Vandanaji, there is no any attack on humans, only just they attack the uh, air stations and other infrastructural uh, places. So now we can understand, analyze the intention of Russia. Rakesh Tiwari ji, just you see recently the so many development in Canada, and just how they're facing Canada, and now this is a total. I think it is said by the uh, foreign affairs expert. This is going to be the new equation is going to be developed against America. How just you analyze the situation?
Well, thank you so much, Kumar Rakeshji and the fellow panelists after a long time. We are talking on this is a, as you said, a very pertinent question.
Please,
about
Tiwari ji, please correct your frame, just your half actually.
half. Okay, is it better now? Is it better now?
Better than before, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, then let's continue with the topic.
Yes.
Okay, so the main issue is, in my humble understanding, we have entered in a total different zone, and although it was before too, means all those countries in five main countries we are talking about, the super five are the security, all those countries who are in the Security Council. They have utilized their power, their muscle power, to go in different countries. We know very well when US has gone to Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria, other places, we are very well aware of it. So whosoever has the muscle power, they did not give damn about the United Nations. Let me say upfront and bluntly this. So China has done this with the Tibet. China has done with the Tiananmen, and yes, all the whole world was crying. Nothing much happened. One thing which Russia has done with the Crimea before, and now they are saying it. So definitely, where I'm looking at it, that we are entering in a clear-cut, more dangerous situation than ever before. It is no longer a Cold War. The sanctions which US and other Western countries has put on Russia, I'm very sure, and in my humble understanding, they were ready for it. And this tug of war is going to continue, because Russia is reclaiming its importance as it was before at the Soviet era. They had it. At this time, United Nations has failed miserably as League of Nations. Some of the fellow I was seeing when Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General, he was speaking like two ways. One is like begging with Russia, please come back. The another way he was, and the question comes that why the whole world has not acted It is like NATO versus Russia. Warsaw Pact has been finished, and Russia's concern should be addressed. In my humble understanding, when we talk about Canada, Canada is definitely going to follow the US's footsteps. All the Western countries, not all the Western countries, at least all the NATO countries, they are with US, and that's how they can keep their power in the world. Russia is by itself. Now China is on another side. They are challenging it very clearly. What Bharat is going to do, that will be very interesting, because Bharat is distancing from the US point of view as well as the Russian point of view, just playing in middle. So all the panelists who have said it, I respect them a lot. Okay, but at the same time, I'm saying that we have to, now this has given any country, whosoever, whichever the country is there, and they have a muscle power, they can take care of their backyard. So now we are talking about the might is right. Nobody can enter to Canada, Mexico, all the American countries without the US's permission. Russia has said the same thing, that this is my backyard. You cannot enter it. China has the same thing. And this is the principle, this is the roadmap. We are seeing it at present.
Okay,
So
thank
we
you.
are going to see, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Amit Singh, how just Rakesh Tiwari is saying might right, but I don't think might it right principle is already valid and permissible in the world diplomatic arena. One. Number two, just you see the situation in Bharat, China, Pakistan. China and Pakistan now supporting Russia. And Bharat is standing just now, it seems to be neutral, not support to Russia, not support to America and NATO. Bharat is also not member of NATO. So in this situation, what do you think, what should be the stand of the Bharat? And how
Uh,
they should go?
Yes, according to me, I think this is again a historic moment for India and specifically for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because India can play its role with regard to bringing some peace or bringing both these nation at the discussion table. So there is a possibility ki we can do that, and yes, there are issues ki yes, China and Russia, they have ideological as well as geographical proximity. And at present, Pakistan is nothing but a China's puppet, because they have to support China because China is giving them huge money. Because few years back, Pakistan has fooled America, and because America has funded various activities of Pakistan, the so-called developmental activities. Now China is funding Pakistan's activity. At present, Imran Khan is in Russia, but this particular visit has nothing to do with the present situation of Russia, because this particular visit has already planned, and literally speaking, Pakistan is having no capacity, because there are some media channels who are just highlighting कि
Sorry for intervention, Abid ji. I think Hindi said begane shaadi mein Abdullah Diwana, like
जी
that. Pakistan
जी
role is like that. Yeah.
Now, some Indian channels are deliberately projecting that Pakistan is far ahead than India as compared to discussing this particular issue with Putin in Moscow only. Some of the media channel just few minutes back, they have
Yeah.
projected this particular narrative, but unki auqat nahi hai in simple Hindi words, because Pakistan has nothing to do with, because again they are visited there with regard to their own interest, and specifically some energy related issues. Pakistan was there. So with regard to, yes, there are another narrative related to China is there with regard to Soviet Union. So this is their majburi too, because with regard to Taiwan ka issue, yes, we have to realize there is no it is almost if we are comparing Russia with China, there is no comparison, because at present Russia is having a strong political will to protect its national interest and to fulfill his strategic objective with regard to Ukraine. But with regard to China, having no experience with regard to war, we have given China a befitting reply in Galwan. So with regard to Taiwan, because yes, there are some China scholars who are saying कि Taiwan को भी ये नहीं करना चाहिए because America has fooled Ukraine. So according to me, this is a right movement. And again, I would like to reiterate, yes, Russia has reestablished itself as a second best superpower after America. And this particular issue is in India's national interest, because for the past 2-3 years, China is projecting himself as a second best superpower, and we cannot afford China, because China, we are having our border dispute, and China is our neighbor. So it is in India's interest too. Ki yes, Russia again asserted himself at the international platform. Now, India or Narendra Modi ji should intervene in this particular matter. And there is a possibility, because Ukrainian ambassador and various political elites of Ukraine has requested Modi ji ki please intervene. Only you can resolve this particular issue. So again, this is a historic moment for us, and we have to encash it with both hands. Thank you.
So nice. It's going to be happen. If it happen, so literally the role of Bharat will be the different one on the globe. Look, ji, just as Amit ji analyzed the situation, how the China, India, and Pakistan, and Bharat and Pakistan. So Bharat will be benefited from this all exercises, whatever the going to be done by the Russia and other way. So how just you analyze the situation now at this stage, role of NATO, as in from the European perspective?
The role of NATO, I don't think NATO is going to do much. I mean, the most they've done is like the East European countries, what they did was they had refused a visa to the Russians, which is almost like nothing. And the economic embargo they have been living after Crimea's annexation. Russia has been living with the embargo, and at the most it is going to hurt them right about 2% of their economy, which is almost nothing. In fact, in case you look at the the Nikki's fall today was 2.5%. And same in any other, sphere which you're saying in the Western world. Now, there is a very important thing. The very important thing is that on one side, Americans are saying that the Europeans should not buy the gas from there, because Russia basically it is exporting three things. It is exporting gas, it is exporting oil, and it is exporting arms. So in case you want to put a stop onto that, but the problem is that if the gas goes, the Russia stops sending gas to Europe, they will not survive. I mean, it is impossible for them, and they cannot get it from Qatar, or let's say from United States of America. So now this is a major thing. So they are not NATO is not going to do anything. The fuel cost right now, every evening we see that today the electricity is going to cost you so much, and it is going to come down to so much, or this is happening every day, because electricity, unlike in India that you have one single rate, it is fluctuating according to demand and supply in Europe. So for example, the gas prices have already gone up. Now with the conflict, what is going to happen? The oil producing countries, they're going to hike the price again. So fuel prices are going to go up again. So don't think it is going to happen in isolation.
Market is going to be crashed in US and other parts of the world also.
No, that's what I'm saying. Now, what is NATO going to do? NATO doesn't have much to do. They are going to do symbolic things, like they said the pipeline 2, they are not going to, let that happen. So it doesn't bother them. It was more for the Europeans than for the Russians. They can, block certain multimillionaires in England. But what I don't understand is why are the Russian multimillionaires and having accounts in United Kingdom? They should be having it in countries like India. Now, what can India do? What can Modi ji do? I don't think we are going to do much. I mean, it'll be very nice. We have big hopes from Modi ji. That is okay. And we have very good offices with the three countries. I'm talking about Russians. We are talking about Ukrainians. And I'm also talking about the Americans. I don't think Europeans have much to do, because they are just following the leader, which is United States of America. They can't go against it. and they
Yeah.
cannot, do anything around that. So in case Modi ji is capable of doing this, but the problem is that Russia and China, with this happening, Russia is going closer to China, which is not in favor of Europe. Being a European country,
Not
I
not
don't know
favor of
why
not favor of Bharat also. If
the
China is
Europeans are
going to
not ready
closer.
to accept the Russians. It would have been a better world had the Europeans accepted Russians. They could have said something like this. Now with the Cold War over, NATO is useless. They could have got rid of both United States of America and the Russian problem totally. They did not do, because they're lazy people. I mean, Europeans are not very proactive in anything. They just following the
Yeah,
status quo. The world has
yeah.
changed. Now, that is a very
So
important
Alok
thing. And
ji,
the third,
just sorry, just Alok ji, just Vandana ji, IMF chief warns of significant economic risks from the Ukraine conflict. What do you think? Unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
I didn't get your question. What you said?
IMF, International Monetary Fund chief warns of significant economic risks from the from Ukraine conflict.
Okay. That is what I was saying. You will keep watching. There'll be every second there is a new statement coming. As we talked about United Nations, and we talked about role of India, and for Bharat, for Prime Minister Modi, on one side, if it is talking about Russia is the oldest friend and the newest friend, America. So this will be like, they said that Ukraine wants India to talk to Putin. United Nations also wanted Modi ji to talk to Putin, and this may happen tonight. Our president is going to address today, and as Alok ji has been mentioning, because the more Russia and Russia and China comes together, I mean, so that is not good. You just mentioned it. It is not good for Bharat. And what is going to happen to these sanctions? Because Russia is having partnership with China on this. Will this impact when it has been talking about the oil and the gas reserves and all? This will come through China. So that will not have any impact on Russia if we are talking about the sanctions and stuff like that. So let's see. Means as every second there is something new coming up, and we are monitoring and observing. And I think just I'm seeing $104 per barrel. We are facing the pricing here also. And I am missing my old President Trump at this moment, to be very honest. And I think world will realize he was need of the time today.
So Trump will also played a major role just to, I think, the ignite the crisis, not the diffuse the crisis, as I think. So Rakesh Tiwari ji, there is out of 30 members of NATO, 2 are from North America, Canada and America. Rest 28 from the Europe. Okay, so how just you analyze the situation, role of North America in this all?
Out of that 28, how many US are funding? That also you should know.
No, I am
Well,
talking the numbers. That is a different. That is a different discussion. That leads to the different discussion. So I'm not going in that. So
let me say a couple of things. See, Canada and US, not even for now, before to in the past too, and even in the future, Canada and US are going to stick together no matter which government comes. Sometimes we have opposed US and we did not go along with them, but at this time, Justin Trudeau's prime minister over there, and the both parties are liberal Democrats. You can say that in Canada it is liberal, in US is Democrat. Joe Biden is over there. Interesting fact, Vandanaji brought it, Mr. Trump. So President, ex-President Trump, he has openly supported Putin. He has openly supported Putin. So in that way, you can say that and I, in my understanding, Mr. Trump was also accused of supporting Putin when he was in power. So there was something, it looks like a Noura Kushti, which is, that was happening at that time. My worry is a bit bigger than that. this can of worm which has opened. Now you will see next. I am seeing it, the China aggression towards the Taiwan. We will see for sure, because
Sir, my
China is
question was
looking at
different. You
the.
are giving a different answer. My question will just stick to the Canada and the role, just not a North America role in the just Russian affairs. You're going to China and Taiwan, sir. Please.
Well,
I just
let me. I cannot stick with only with Canada, because I'm a global citizen.
no,
Okay,
no, I'm not
I
going to stick you, but expert. Just you're living there, so just
well,
I
my
need to know
let
from
me
you.
say where. Yeah, so being in media, you have to have it. So where my view and observation, which is coming to, and that's, as I said, that's my worry over there, that the next conflict, why, as I mentioned, China, and China is not only that. Let me bring a totally different point of view, and where I am kind of being supportive towards the Putin for this reason. US has
No,
invaded
sir,
so
question
many
arises
countries.
from the Vandana. Sir, question arises from the Vandanaji statement how Trump supported Putin and
No,
why
no.
or not for.
Let me let me let me bring let me bring this interesting point. What I'm saying, being devil's advocate, US has itself, France has, all those major countries has invaded other countries, and whenever that matter went to the Security Councils, that one country whosoever was there, they have vetoed it. That we know since the, when a United Nations and Security Council was formed. Okay, we know the whole history. Now it is becoming new norm. Now the question is
Sir,
coming up.
my question is different. You're giving different answer. Just let me take answer from
No,
Dr.
no,
Amit.
you are asking. I'm not going to answer whatever you wanted. I will answer what in my understanding. See,
Sir, as an anchor and moderator, I will stick to my answer.
yeah, sure,
Your
but
question,
my,
need the answer.
yeah,
That is my duty.
Canada, Canada,
But I said,
Canada has, as I mentioned, Canada is going to stick with USA. Okay, Britain is going to stick with USA. Other countries might change their
all are the
tone.
NATO members, all are stick with the whatever they decided, whatever they stick, all are just supporting and anti just Russia, Dr. Amit Singh.
Their support is going to be limited. Their support, as Vandanaji has mentioned, their support and other families, in my humble understanding.
Let's take your question to Dr. Amit Singh now. I'm transferring. Dr.
Yeah,
Amit Singh, how does you think the statement just raised by Mr. Trump to support Putin, how just you analyze one? And now the last question was, there is now how does the Bharat will the after if the our Prime Minister Narendra Modi talk to and it is already presumed already it has been said going to talk to Putin, so new equation may be developed in the world affairs. So just two questions: why just Trump just supported Putin? This is only for the political assumption. This is for just to raise their I think the political power in USA, Republican versus Democratic, or some different values. One, and how just if the our Prime Minister Narendra Modi will talk to the Putin. So these two equations just to how it analyze.
Okay, as per my understanding goes, because whatever I have heard with regard to Trump's statement, so according to me, Trump is not openly supporting Putin, but he is just pulling legs of Biden, because he has mentioned that Biden is doing nothing, or some related issues on the
Yes.
and just like playing politics by the opposition.
Yeah.
So he is playing politics. On the other hand, I have told you earlier, yes, this is a historic moment for India. We Because few days back, China has also urged. America has also urged India that India should mediate between Ukraine and Russia, and now Ukraine is also requesting India and specifically Prime Minister Modi to mediate and discuss this particular thing with Putin. And with regard to Foreign Secretary press briefing just few minutes back, he has also mentioned yes, tonight Modi ji is going to discuss this particular issue with Putin. And yes, I have told you earlier, we have to encash this particular movement. and with the if India, because if India is going to intervene, and if Ukraine and Russia both are going to agree, and if they are going to discuss this particular issue, or resolve this particular issue with the help of discussion, I think it will be a huge contribution for India towards global peace.
So nice of you. Just already, Bharat always advocate for the peace and non-violence, and always try to we just believe in Vasudev Kutumbakam. I think this is two role. Just Vandana is smiling because just she support Trump. So just I think Biden is going to be counter
No,
now.
no, I just smiled
I'm not
because
going to that.
no, I'm not. This is not about the Biden and the
Yeah,
support.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
about the non-violence that you're talking
Yeah,
about. So my
that is
smile
for
came from that.
non-violence or humanity is important actually above all the politics. We should advocate the peace, non-violence, and humanity, and we just pray to God. So any I think work against humanity should be done by Mr.
And we
Putin.
should remember the stand of Ukraine towards India also before
Yeah, so that
2022.
is so
That you
many
should
things
not
that are
forget.
so many questions there. So only
Yeah.
just
So
only
Russia
advocate
was a
for the
friend,
peace.
but not the Ukraine. Ukraine
Yeah,
always
yeah.
objected to
No,
India.
actually, as you know, 2014, when Crimea was just taken by the Russia, India was silent. So India has no role that time.
No,
So
Ukraine condemned India's nuclear test in 1998.
yeah, there
Voted
is so many
against India
questions.
at
So
United
yeah,
Nations Security
yeah.
Council. So that's also
So many reasons, Vandanaji. I think the government of India keeping an eye, as the Bharswardhan Singla, the foreign secretary, just half an hour before, he announced a press conference and see the line of India. So just we hope so for the best and for the best for the humanity, peace, and non-violence. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.